will there be new stuff in the underground, like underground biomes and features and such in the future? Prof, what do you think?
We have been working for quite a while now in trying to modify the world gen so we can actually include new content more easily. And so that's actually one of the things we looked at, to be able to add more things in the cave, more things in above ground, in the various dimensions. And so, yes, at some point, eventually, we will have more content underground and possibly underground biomes.
That sounds fantastic. So with your new world generation that you've been developing now for quite some time, we can see new stuff coming in eventually. It will allow us to do more stuff.
Yeah, in the near future.
Great. So yeah, we'll see more features and hopefully biomes then.
Yeah.
Hi, Agnes and Brandon.
Hi.
Hello. Let's do this.
So, okay, the next update is the update that we know that so many of you, and well, so many of us as well, has been wanting for such a long time. It's the Caves and Cliffs update.
So you guys saw at the start of the video a flashback to Minecon Earth 2017 in the developer panel where somebody asked about a cave update and they said they were working on it, and 2 or 3 years later we are getting exactly that. Now the developers are going to explain things and I'm going to let you guys listen to it, and I'm going to come in every once in a while and talk about what I think.
The update, like we have been dreaming about it for so long, so it felt so important for us to do it right. Like we don't want to rush it, but now we feel it's the right time. Like we have spent the time we need to really like understand the vision we have for the update, and also to make sure that we understand what the community actually wants. And we've also like planned around it to make sure that we really can work together with the community to make this and like as epic update as possible.
Sure that we can have as much variation as possible within the actual caves themselves, but we want to make sure that the old caves are still retained as much as possible to keep that classic feel.
Yeah, and we really also looked into to make sure that we have something for everyone, because you know we have such a huge community, and it's also a very diverse community, and that's such a beautiful thing. So we really want this update to have something for everyone. So actually, we made sure to map all the features in the update to different player styles to really see that we fulfill that goal.
That's so cool. And you had such a big thought process on how you decide what even goes into an update this big.
Yeah, we have spent quite a lot of time on just making sure that we have a very good like fundament for the update. For example, we did the player style mapping, and we've also worked with design pillars. So the design pillars, they kind of describe the vision of the update. So for example, they help us when we like prioritize between different features, and also when we design each specific feature. And we have 3 pillars for this update. And the first one is actually all about like the spectacular mountains, the snowier snow, and the mischievous goats. Because at last year's live, the players voted for these features, and we felt like it's so important to deliver on that promise. So we actually wanted to have it as a pillar.
Yeah, and another pillar that we actually integrated into this was adding strategy to mining. So of course Minecraft already has plenty of strategy in mining, but we wanted to see if we could push that just a little bit further and add even more mechanics that make it interesting for players to mine in the caves.
Yeah, and the third pillar is to create an underground of marvel for the players. And that pillar is a lot about like adding variation to the underground and like contrast, and like inspire players to like craft their own underground adventures and build underground. And one thing we have done to like fulfill this pillar is that we have added new cave biomes, and one of them is the lush caves.
So the first cave biome, that's right, they're adding cave biomes, is the lush caves. Now you see looks like a new type of dirt. They don't talk about what that is, but there's also a new tree called the azalea tree, and you'll see some concept art after this footage about all of the plants and stuff that is in this biome. It is very interesting, and it is something that we have wanted for a long time. I go in the caves, and it's just so boring. I want to live in a cave. It would be so much more interesting for aquatic land if I could do that.
Beautiful. It doesn't feel cave-like.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to make sure that, of course, in Minecraft, all the original caves, they're pretty much the same. There's not much variation in terms of vegetation or different features inside of it. So for this, we wanted something which is a bit more like light and lush and actually has vegetation. And I mean, I think it looks amazing.
It's gorgeous. What was the inspiration behind it?
So we were thinking about, okay, so how should it feel when you're in a lush cave? And we wanted to be like, so you feel like very tiny inside like a big garden or big forest. So like when you look up, it's actually like vegetation above you, it's vegetation around you. And one source of inspiration we had is actually a Swedish painter called John Bauer, because in his paintings it's always, or often at least, like a tiny character, and then it's like huge forest, and you see like the bottom of the trees because the vegetation is like so big compared to the character.
And you're adding so many new plants in the lush caves.
Yes, so I don't know if you saw, but there was this new tree that was actually above on the overworld.
I think the glow berries and the drift leaf plant are the most interesting.
And if you actually find this and start going down its roots, you will find a lush cave there. So this is another part of adding strategy to mining, where there are certain landmarks which will allow you to understand what you're doing in the game.
That's cool. And another one of the new blocks is a block called Spore Blossom. And it's that, you maybe saw it in the video, it's a big pink flower that you find in the roof of the lush cave. And it will drip particles from that flower, but it will also actually feel like a big volume around it with particles. So it's similar to the particles that we added to the nether biomes in the nether update. But the cool thing here is that you can move the flower if you want to and get these particles anywhere you want in your world. So you can actually be very creative with that.
That's so awesome. And the lush caves have a real glow to them from one of the plants.
Yes. So there are vines in the lush caves, and they have glow berries on them, and these are actually a light source. And you can also pick them and eat them if you want to.
Nice.
Yes. And another plant we actually have is the drip leaf plant. And you can actually see that they can kind of grow from like water or anywhere else. And they grow quite tall, but they have like a little plant on the top that you can actually hop onto. So the idea of the mechanic behind it is that the leaf will actually tilt down when you stand on it too long. So this will actually make you fall through. However, after a few seconds, it'll...
So a demonstration they are showing here is the drip leaf plant. And she is walking up it, as you can see, and when she gets to the top, it will like kind of break in a way. It'll tip over, the green part will, and she'll slide down.
So beautiful in there. And there's actually a mob coming to the lush caves.
Yes, there is. But we will actually not tell you about this mob now, because in the end of the show, we will show even more features coming to the Caves and Cliffs update. And then we're going to show that mob.
This is the first time we have so much that we're actually splitting the update section into two, at the beginning and towards the end of the show. It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's exciting.
You've also worked on improving the cave generation.
Yes.
So probably the biggest thing in this update, at least one of the biggest things, is improving cave generation, which has always been something I don't understand why they hadn't done this before. They had slightly tweaked it in 1.13 to add ravines with water in it. And they also said they're adding water levels, which means some caves might have water in it, some may not. And you may notice that you can fly with the Elytra, which makes parkour in caves a little more possible. And you may notice that the ores are glowing. That's not going to actually happen in the update that is for just displaying the update, as the developer King B Dogs or Brandon will tell you after this clip. It is just for display purposes. Now there are waterfalls. There have always been waterfalls, but it's going to be more beautiful and stuff. So yeah, this is wicked.
Purposes, ores aren't going to glow now. It's just that the caves tend to be quite dark, and we want to make sure that players can see the shapes of the cave.
Now, will that only be for the normal caves, or will this run across all of the new cave biomes?
Yeah, so the really cool thing is that the new cave shapes and sizes is completely independent from the new biomes. So that means that we have so much variation. Because, for example, a lush cave can, for example, generate in a super narrow tunnel, but it can also generate in a huge cavern, and that creates completely different atmospheres, but it's still the same biome. So we're really going to have lots of variation underground now.
You've been calling two of the different cave types spaghetti and Swiss cheese? That's how varied the caves could be?
Yes, I mean, there are so many different variables for how the variation works, and I mean, it has even more variation than the overworld itself. It's just crazy.
It's a lot. Yeah, some of the caves, for example, have really cool pillars, and some are more flat, some are tall. Lots of variation.
Very nice. And you have another new cave biome to show us.
Yes, so we have the drip.
You guys might want to pay attention to this, because this is one of the biggest things also about this update. You can see there are stalactites and stalagmites, but that's not what they're actually called. They're actually called dripstones, and they drip water, and when you put a cauldron under it, it will fill it up with water as it drips.
On these dripstones, you will get hurt.
Or zombie.
There's another interesting mechanic in the dripstone caves.
Yes, so maybe you saw in the video that from the stalactites, you could see that it was dripping water. So actually, if you put a cauldron under a stalactite, it will fill up with water. So it's renewable water.
And how do you remember which is stalactites and stalagmites?
Well, that's a very good question. It has been very tricky to remember that, but I think I learned. So we actually, it's hold on tight to stalactite. I was going to say the wrong one. So stalactite is in the roof and stalagmite is on the floor.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We've been practicing that, all of us.
For a long time, even.
And you have something really amazing in this update for the sort of redstone engineers out there.
Yes, so we've actually been thinking about this redstone block that lives in the deep dark, a new biome at the deepest depths of the world. We're not going to talk about this biome too much today, but we are going to show some of the blocks and maybe later a mob that comes from it. So if we look at the video, we can...
So this is a new redstone device that's actually alive. It's called the Skulk Growth, and it has a Skulk sensor as well. And you can see the design is very in-based. They'll talk about a lot of this later on.
Detect the vibrations around and then emit a redstone signal. So this is going to be very interesting for redstone players. We even have a mechanic around it where you can actually use wool with wool occlusion to essentially prevent signals from being able to get into the Skulk sensor. So let's take a look at that now.
So right now he is demonstrating what the Skulk sensor can do. And it is a very fascinating thing, because it's going to lead to something that will maybe make me want to do redstone more. They'll talk about it in just a little bit, and I'm probably talking more than I should be.
Where you can put wool blocks on each side and only allow it to detect vibrations in front of it. And vibrations can be so many different things. You know, it can be a snowball hit, it could be an arrow, it could be footsteps, it could be blocks, anything.
So cool.
Yeah.
And another thing, we had a bit of a happy accident with this, because we realized...
I'm no redstone mumbo jumbo or Ray's Works, but this is what they call wireless redstone. They actually said it was an accident, but it's actually going to be an attended feature. Very excited, guys.
You can just build so many cool things with that. It's going to be exciting to see what the community will build.
Yeah, you're really looking for community feedback to make sure this like feels great for everyone.
Absolutely. I think because this is such a unique mechanic, we really want to make sure that we get it right. And, you know, we love the Redstone community and we want to make sure that we do it right. So any feedback you have, any ideas, send it to us and we will work with you to make this the best block that it can be.
And now we said there's another mob coming later, but I think it's time for a new mob coming to the Caves and Cliffs update.
It is. And this is a very scary mob. And it lives in the deepest of the underground, in the deep dark. And this is a very dark place. And the cool thing is that this mob is very well adapted to the environment. So it can't see anything. So it's the first blind mob in Minecraft. And that's very interesting because it gives such interesting mechanics. So instead, it will react to vibrations, just like the Skulk sensor block. So if you aren't very careful when you walk around in the deep dark, you might upset that mob.
Yeah, with this mob, we really wanted to make sure that we kind of recaptured that feeling of the first night of Minecraft. And we can often forget that Minecraft can be a pretty scary game. So we wanted to make sure that we could kind of go back to that. I mean, caves can be scary, they're dark. And all I'm going to say is that when you go into the deep dark, I want to make sure that you're very quiet and watch closely for the Warden.
Now this is the footage of the first mob coming to the Caves and Cliffs update. It is called the Warden. It is the first blind mob. And you can see there, he has a netherite sword, but you can also see the Skulk sensor. It is the first ever blind mob to sense vibrations. And some eagle-eyed viewers might notice some candles there. Now, they don't talk about the candles, but you can see that they do go past them. And you can see it fades from dark to light. And that's going to make it very scary. This biome is known as the Deep Dark. It is where the Warden is going to live. It is blind, it cannot see, and it's going to be pretty hard. Now, I don't know if that's a base in the background, and I'm not aware of what that rock is, but you can see the footage is about to show the Warden coming up here, and the developer, King Dogs, who's playing there, is in full netherite armor. Get ready to watch this. It is pretty crazy what this mob can do. I love that they've included the Skulk sensor into this. It is pretty unique that it senses vibrations unlike any other thing in the game. And I would love to see it jump and pound on you. It's like a mini boss without being a mini boss. And he's wearing full netherite. He'll even say this in the next clip.
What did we just see?
It's a very different mob. I'm really excited for this because not only is it trying to be scary, it's, we had to keep a balance to it. It was very challenging to design a mob like this. Another thing that's really important to note is in that video, I was wearing full netherite armor, so it's very powerful. You
That's
definitely want to watch
mob.
out. Yeah.
Which I think also is such an interesting gameplay, because if you want to, you can avoid it, but then you need to really be careful, sneak all the time to not make any kind of movement that it will detect. But that's a lot of fun, and it's feels scary, but in the good way.
And you wanted to kind of take everyone back to that first night experience with the Warden.
Absolutely. I mean, I had such an amazing experience when I first played Minecraft. It was terrifying listening to zombies underneath my house and in the caves, and hopefully we can bring that back to players, but 10 years later.
Yeah. But that will be just amazing, because you hear so many lovely first night stories. It's such a big thing, and I mean, I'm also very fond of my first night in Minecraft, so we hope to give that experience again.
But you really balance sort of the look of it. It's it's almost cute, but also really, really terrifying. How did you decide?
Yeah. We actually worked a lot on how does scariness look in Minecraft, because we want it to be very scary and we didn't want to take away from the scariness, but we felt let's add some derpiness to it. So it's like a mix. So for example, we added the mouth. I love the mouth. And some actually reacted like, oh, it's so cute, which I think it's more scary, but I think we find like the perfect balance.
We know you've waited a long time for this update, and if you thought the first set of features for the caves were awesome, it's time for even more awesomeness. So in this update, you've been really looking at like filling out the caves even more.
Yes, so there are even more things to show. And in the things we showed so far, it's a lot about like improving the journey underground, but of course we also want to add like new things to find, like new resources, and one of them are crystals.
All right, now they're talking about things that they're adding as far as like new blocks and stuff. This is amethyst geodes. So they're adding crystals, and this is going to be a block. The bottom part is not going to be obtainable, but the top part is going to be attainable. Think about the dungeon spawner.
They're so beautiful.
Yes, that the moment you turn the corner and you see that glowing thing, that's so,
Yeah,
it's
like
incredible.
The atmosphere in the crystal geode,
Yes.
it's like mystical. Yeah, they're so pretty. And we were thinking a lot about like what is the purpose for crystals in Minecraft? And one thing is like they should have a use, and we will talk more about one of the usages soon. But the other thing is a lot about just adding a lot to the experience of exploring. And we want them to be quite rare. So when you find them, it's really gonna be like magical, because they're just beautiful. And you know, when you walk on the crystals, you hear these sounds.
Yeah, it's just, we talked before about the pillar of Underground of Marvel. And I feel they're just the perfect feature for that sort of pillar,
Yeah.
right?
But you can't just take them with you.
Right, so you can break the crystal plant we saw in the video, but they actually grow from a very special block. And that block is unobtainable. It's sort of like you think about spawners, right? You cannot just take it and put it in your base. It makes you go and build farms all around your world. And that also encourages you to create tunnels between them and find out ways of transferring those items from place to place. And I just love those sort of features that really encourage other gameplay in the game.
As an explorer myself, I'm very excited about
Yes.
finding all of these. And you mentioned a usefulness to them.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So from those crystal plants, you get crystal shards items, and you can actually use them to craft a telescope.
So what I'm about to show you is they are adding a telescope. That is right. We are going to be able to use the zoom feature from Optifine in actual Minecraft without having to mod it. This is going to be amazing.
That is amazing.
It is. It's such a useful item. Super cool. And the cool thing is that, so yes, you use the crystal shards to craft them, but you also need something more, and that's also a new thing that we added.
You thought netherite was cool? Now they're adding copper. That's right. Copper stairs, copper slabs, copper blocks, potentially copper wire, and this is what's going to also be used to craft the telescope.
It's copper!
That's amazing.
Yes, it's new ore. And you saw the copper ore in the video. And a very interesting thing with the copper ore is that it generates in a different way. So normal ores often generate like an ore blob, but copper is different. So imagine that you are out mining and you see copper ore. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna mine the copper. And then you see some stone. It's like, they look a bit different. So you continue to mine, and then you find another copper ore. And you probably go like, okay, I think I found a copper vein. So we're actually adding ore veins to Minecraft. And like they really add so much to mining. It gets so interesting because it's kind of like following a trace when you mine, and they tie so well to the pillar we have about adding strategy to mining.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you've personally wanted copper in the game since you start, maybe before you started?
Yeah.
You mentioned it once or twice.
Well, maybe a few times, but yes. So I think I got inspired by the pretty copper roofs in Stockholm, and
yes.
they are all green because we have so many like old buildings here, and we've actually added that mechanic to Minecraft as well. So, you know, if you place a copper block, it will first be orange, but after a while, a pretty long time, it will turn green, and it's something. I think it's so cool because it actually adds history to Minecraft. Because, for example, if you have a really old Minecraft world, then you can see on like a house and like, oh, the roof turned all green, and then you know that that house has been there for a really long time.
This is the first ore to change color based on weather. And it honestly looks pretty daggone cool when it's transitioning over time there, as you can see. And it gets quite better. It's going to be used to craft something pretty cool.
Telescope. You actually have another really cool thing that you'll be able to craft with it.
Yeah. So Jens talked a bit before about these design principles that we have in Minecraft. And one of them is that if something bad happens, the player either caused it or it has a way to sort of avoid it. And one of those exceptions, for example, is lightning striking. Now, some people like to build wooden roofs in Minecraft. Some even build wall roofs.
Looking at me,
Right.
it's not at all like the grandest castle in my realm actually has a roof fully built of wool.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
No,
but
we did get some fires.
yeah, so to try to help the players with that, we are introducing the lightning rod.
Have you ever had a problem with lightning striking your house because it's wood or wool? Fear no more. The lightning rod is here. Now, big places like Universal Studios and Disney World have to have these everywhere. This is just potentially game-changing.
That is very useful for all the wool roofs out there.
Yeah, I think this is a problem that happened to a lot of our players. Even personally, I had this peaceful game that I played with my partner, and it wasn't peaceful. And we went out and we were like looking at animals, collecting a few animals to our base, and we came back and our house was gone. And I was quite confused because I consider myself to be someone who knows a bit about Minecraft, and there are no creepers, there are no Endermen. So what happened? We figured that probably a lightning strike hit and burned down the house, and we were quite traumatized because we were not prepared for this. So I think this lightning rod is really going to help with that.
Yeah, now you don't have to worry about that problem anymore.
No, I'm gonna place like lightning rods everywhere on my wool roof.
Good.
Will be perfect.
Good.
Now, you've introduced a lot of things already, and players already have a lot of trouble with their inventory and the amount of items, but you have an idea for that.
Yes. So as you know, we keep adding new blocks and new items all the time, and that do create a bit of an inventory problem. And we're aware of that, and we have actually been thinking quite a lot how we can solve it, because we want to have like a good gameplay solution. We want it to be balanced, and we actually have an item in this update that will be really helpful, and it's the bundles.
Minecraft does have a problem with inventory. Exuma Void and Cubfan135 have said it very well. They want something other than shulker boxes to carry stuff around so that the main inventory does not get cluttered. Well, you will have to worry no more, because there's going to be bundles in this update. You can stack anything up to 64. So you can stack any item, any combination of items into 64 and put them in a bundle, which is a type of backpack.
Bundles.
Yeah, this is awesome. It's such an elegant solution as well, and I love it. I think we spend a lot of time talking about the inventory problem, and I think one of the biggest takeaways there was that this is not actually one problem. It's constructed from a lot of sub-problems. For example, hotbar management is one problem. Getting a lot of blocks for your huge build somewhere, that's like something the shulkers help with. But I think there is a third sub-problems where every time you leave your base to go exploring somewhere, your inventory keeps getting full of junk. Like, this lot just has 2 flowers. This lot has just 1 seed, right? And I think the bundles are really going to help with that problem.
Yes. So the thing with the bundle is that you can place many different kinds of items in one bundle. So many different kinds of items in one inventory slot. So for example, I can take those 2 flowers and 1 seed and put them in one bundle. It's great.
And you can kind of use them like presents too.
Oh yes, I'm so excited about seeing what players do them in like shopping district, right? You can have the bundle of the day, which has a bunch of things with it, or you can have secret bundles where you have 3 of them in a chest, but you get a random one. I think it's really going to be cool.
Yes, and for example, if your friend has a birthday, you can put like your prettiest item in the bundle because it looks like a gift wrapper, and then you can give it to your friend.
That's so cool. We've talked so much today on the like really game design side, but how do you work on the art side?
We actually have a very close collaboration with the art team, and it's great.
This guy, dude, he's in charge of making the new textures and the ones that was implemented for the old blocks in 1.14. It's crazy.
It's so lovely when you can think about all of the different jobs within game development. I love seeing the artists and developers, and we all, like across the show, there's so many different types of roles that people have.
Yeah, and it's really awesome to interact with all those roles and have a lot of a back and forth. We're very open in Mojang and getting ideas from all over the place, and specifically working with the art team is amazing as well. You sort of throw one idea to the air and he draws something and you're like, oh, what is that white thing in your drawing? I didn't even think about it, and it starts so many awesome ideas going. And we even integrate it into our prototype process, and actually I think until I saw those sketches by the art team, I didn't really understand what archaeology in Minecraft even means.
Archaeology?
Yes, so we're actually adding a new system called the archaeology system.
Alright, what you're gonna see here is not final, okay? They actually say it's not final. And it's called an archaeological excavation site. So you remember the ruined portals that they put in 1.16. Well, now they got abandoned archaeological sites is basically what it is. And I wonder if you could brush those blocks like that halfway down and create slabs. We could potentially do that if it's empty. If it's an empty type of thing. If it's an empty block. Because if you don't be careful, you will break whatever item is inside. And you can see there that they have a blue ceramic shard. Now it's going to be useful in a second. Now just watch what they do. If you can have an empty block like that, a dirt slab is possible. If it just doesn't go away after a while. And if you want to, you can make your own story with this. That's the idea. Is they're never going to tell the actual origin story that they made up for themselves and what's actually the reason why Minecraft's structures are somewhat abandoned and stuff. It's up to the player to do. They're never going to tell it. They actually said that in the video. And what you see coming up is clay pots. Those blue ceramic shards, they're going to be used to be put on clay pots and tell a story. Now that, what you're seeing there is programmer art, just like the old textures. And so it's a very work in progress. They said it's very work in progress. We'll get snapshots, I'm sure of it. And I can't wait to do this. It's going to be so cool. this update is so game-changing.
We're saying is still work in progress, but I personally like the dragon. I think it's cute.
Yeah, it didn't say programmer art isn't pretty.
Yeah, you know, the problem is the artists are way too good. Right?
Yeah.
They just make us look bad. I don't know.
Archaeology is amazing. I mean, the excavation site is so incredible.
I'm so excited about this. I've spent a lot of time about it, and I actually got to do a lot of awesome conversations with actual archaeologists from all around the world, and it's been. Honestly, I sort of feel like I got so passionate about it myself that their passion sort of stuck to me, and it was so amazing to learn more about this, and I'm really excited to see where it goes from here.
And you have a dev diary coming out on our YouTube channel where you kind of explore all of the archaeology even more.
Yeah, it's honestly really, really exciting. So I had so much fun with this, and I learned so much that I decided that it can't stop with me. So we're going to do a dev diary when we're actually going to talk to those archaeologists. And actually, we might even get to visit some interesting locations.
That is amazing. Well, it feels very sad, but we're almost out of time. But we've been hinting at a new mob, like over the course of the show, like 3 or 4 times. So are you going to tell us about it now,
Yes,
please?
now we're gonna tell you. It's the cutest predator you will ever meet.
I forgot to mention there's one other mob. It's the cutest predator you will ever see. And sorry if I butcher the name. Axolotl. It's called an axolotl. And it's like a little creature. I actually researched it. It's some type of little creature that lives in the water. And so that's pretty cool. And as you can see, you can bucket them just like fish, and they'll be your partner. So they're going to continue talking about the axolotl here. It's actually a companion mob, and you can actually have an army of them. And when attacked by another mob, such as the Guardian, it'll play dead. And it even has a chance to get healed itself, and a chance to also heal you.
And now I see why you're calling them the cutest predator you'll ever meet.
Exactly. So when you scoop them up in a bucket, you can actually create your own axolotl army, basically, and charge into the oceans with them, and they will help you fight various, well, they'll attack cute fish as well, but they'll help you fight the drowns and the guardians, and they're actually quite useful when fighting guardians because they have this special ability that whenever they take damage, they sort of play dead. And when they're playing dead, no mob will actually attack them. So they have this time to regen back, help, and then jump back into the fight together with you.
Alright, so we do kind of have a set timeline. Kind of. They said summer 2021. Who knows how long this is going to be in development for? It's so big and they're going to add more. I just know it. This is not just everything that they've shown. It's not the whole update. They always add more in snapshots. So who knows what else they'll come up with. But just based on the 1.14 snapshot, first snapshot release, it was October the 24th, and it was announced in September of 2018. Now, I have no idea when the snapshots are going to start, so yeah, I'm not confirming anything, but if you want to know when they do, stay tuned to this channel, Aquatic Let's Plays and Reviews, for everything Minecraft, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.